Hello Glee fans, this is Shamus Kelley, video producer for the Towerlight, here with your Opinionated Glee review of Season 3, Episode 14, On My Way. And I really, I'm usually really funny about this show, and this was a really sad episode, okay? So, I emotionally connected with it, and it was just really, really good. Remember how I talk about how Glee can be really dumb, and then it's really great out of nowhere? Last week was good, this was better, and I really hope they keep being this great. And I was kind of mad, it's oh, are we really gonna take a break till April? And I understand why, because, TV and stuff, but at least they went out with, a bang. But I'll just go through the episodes, I'll make jokes, but shit, alright. So the opening scene with Sebastian really did not click with the rest of this episode, because that whole scene and his whole characterization before is I'm evil. Do you see how evil I am? I should twist my mustache at how evil I am. So when his redemption came later in the episode, I get what they were doing, but it seemed a little heel face turn for if you go to the point of making us hate a character so much, you've got to give us a little something. A little bit of he could be redeemed, even just a little scene, but we didn't get any of that. So I felt really, I'll talk about that a little more when I get to the scene. So there's the whole thing with Finn and Rachel in the Photoshop picture, which was really kind of inconsequential by the midpoint of the episode, so I don't really need to talk about it. It was just kind of dumb. So the whole Karofsky thing, which was, with Blaine's song, was just, this is when because at first this episode I'm okay, this is just standard Glee, whatever. Then this, I was no, oh my god. Oh shit, are they really? Oh my god. And God, can you even have words about a scene like that? It's just, I mean, the whole thing with Karofsky was played very well. It was shot very well. Max Adler, who plays Karofsky, is a fantastic actor, and he just blew that scene out of the water. And the way they shot it, they didn't try to shoot around the whole suicide attempt thing. They really played it up, and I'm very glad for Glee for doing that, because they could have really taken a more easy way out with that scene. So very, very good. I mean, I could talk about this a lot more, but it's it's what it is. Pretty much everything in the episode was kind of amazing after this. I was really surprised. Well, for the most part, but we'll get to that. And then there's the scene with the God Squad and Quinn. And I get what they were doing with her, and they were showing a different side to people, how people feel about suicide. It didn't feel completely out of character for Quinn, but it did seem a little odd. And then the Jesus Kid was cool, because he had 3 lines, but they were great. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing him when we come back. I'm glad he didn't dominate this episode, even though he's a new character. They're introducing him slowly, which is good. We're getting used to him. And he got to be cool, which I liked. And then, so Kurt, there was apparently online, there was a lot of people who felt very strongly that Kurt should not have felt guilty about this suicide. And in my personal opinion, obviously he didn't need to feel guilty. I understand why he did. But in a situation like this, even with all the teachers and stuff, they all felt guilty in their own way, and Kurt just felt even more guilty. He didn't need to feel guilty. He did everything that he could have, but it still worked, and it was very realistic. And I did like that a lot. And Chris Colfer, my God, is just, give that man another award, please. And then we get the scene with almost all the gay characters in the show now, and Sebastian is redeemed. And the scene with Karofsky from the gay bar was really good and very realistic too. But as I said earlier, they had painted him before, and especially at the beginning of this episode, as I'm evil. He's not just a deep character who has a lot of flaws. He's evil. So now that there's an abrupt heel face turn, that now he's a good guy, once again, it did work enough for the episode, and I get what they were doing, but you cannot have someone be that evil and then, oh, by the way, I'm good now. People do change. I understand that, but we got nothing about this. Maybe they could have had a scene where he was still kind of acting evil, and he was well, I'm not going to blackmail you, but you guys are dumb, and he walks away, and he cries or something, and we get the flashback. That would have been better, because then he could still, it would make a little more sense. God, that was kind of dumb. But, so, and apparently they cut a scene with Rachel and Quinn where they're buying the dress that Rachel's wearing later in the episode, and Quinn is hey, don't get married, which Didn't need to be in there. No, I'd like to see it when it comes out on the DVD, like a whole bunch of deleted scenes and songs from this season, but that would have been a really cool scene and it would have set up stuff for later, but whatever. And the Mr. Shoe scene. Okay, so we're all sitting in a happy circle, and then they make Rory try peanut butter, which I was like, what? Why is this in here? This could have been cut. And then and I get what they were doing with the Mr. Shoe scene. The whole, you know, people will kill themselves, you know, it's not just, you know, one thing, it's a bunch of different things. But I'm not gonna, I feel, this is very difficult to talk about. It's very, I can't be all like, well, his reason wasn't as good as, like, you know, Karofsky or anybody else's, but in comparison to what they were doing in the episode, it was a little weak, I'd say. And I do understand what they were doing. It just didn't flow correctly, I guess. But I do understand what they were doing. I really do. But I feel like they could have come up with something a little more powerful. But I'm not saying that people, like, you know, even try or do commit suicide, not over some things that to some other people may seem a little trivial. But it's still, it worked for me. It didn't work. It didn't work. I don't even know what I'm saying. God, this episode. And then they all go around saying what they want from life, and there was some really cool stuff, like Blaine, but then, like, Mercedes is like, I want to see Rachel's babies. Like, I get it was a joke, but remember that whole I want to see my name in lights thing that they drove home like crazy? Where was that? Where was all of Tina's dreams from Asian F? Oh yeah, Tina watched this week. She just wants a song. Was that, like, her joke when they were shooting, and they left, like, she was like, aha, I never sing in this show, and then they left it in? What the? Oh my God, that wasn't funny. I get what they were doing. I just want a song. In a scene that was really emotional, I think that was supposed to be a funny joke to take the tension away, but it wasn't funny. Characterization. Oh my God. Okay, whatever. Okay, and then the whole, oh, he tried to kill himself, so now we're gonna get married. Okay, the married thing is still really dumb. It's just gonna play for drama when we get back, and wackiness, and it will end with will they be together, blah blah blah. Whatever. Just God. Yay, the gay dads are back. I love that. And oh, the whole sectionals thing that happened. The songs happened. They were fun, good. Yay. I was totally into the one host who was like a horror movie host, and then at the end when New Directions won, like Sugar went to hug him. That was cute. And all the songs were good, and it worked, and he's like, yeah, you know, we got to support each other. Like, what musically, you know, best song of the episode was Blaine's opening song, by the way. Really good. And, well, it helped that with all the editing and all the stuff going on. So it helped. So, you know, Sue Sylvester. I have talked on this show before about Sue's completely just out there characterization. Like, they decide she's evil one week. They decide she's not. Can we have this Sue? Like, kind of like a little mean and weird, but not like so over the top she's gonna push somebody down the stairs. I know they're not gonna keep her this way, and whether she'll continue to help New Directions or not is very questionable, but I'd really like for her to keep her them to keep her this way. And, oh my God, the Kurt and Karofsky scene in the hospital. Wow. I'm not one to cry at things a lot, and I was getting pretty close at this scene, because my God, and people once again there were people who had very strong opinions about this. We're like, oh, well, he shouldn't have gone, and he shouldn't feel bad, or Karofsky should have blamed Kurt. I'm like, and then there are other people who are like, you know, things don't get better just by thinking everything will be great. And I'm like, I don't think that's what they were going for. I think Kurt was just trying to give him a little hope for the future. And it does depend on how they'll play with this, you know, when they get back, you know, from their long hiatus, or 7 weeks. But it worked for me. It really did, and it was really all down to Max Adler and Chris Colfer's acting. It was just freaking beautiful, and just there's not a lot to say about that scene except I really, really, really liked it. And then there's the whole bit about them wanting to get married, and Rachel's dads, and, you know, Finn's mom and Kurt's dad being, you know, I liked their scene. It was a little funny, like breaking the tension a little bit. I like that. And then there was a whole texting thing with Quinn, and right when I saw her behind that tractor thing, I'm like, oh God. Oh God, no. And this is why you shouldn't, this is what looking at text when driving does, I guess. But I mean, as some of you, actually a lot of people did ask recently, they're like, what did you do to your hand? Well, I got hit by a car. I was on a bike or bicycle, and thankfully, you know, this is the only thing, a minor fracture, but I emotionally connected with that end scene a little bit, getting hit by a car, and you know, there are a lot of people who have very strong opinions about this. They think, is she going to die? I mean, people do survive accidents like this, but... And, you know, I feel really bad about this because I actually was starting to like the Quinn character again, but wouldn't it be, like, ripe with dramatic possibilities if she did die? Now, that's the problem, is that if they do that, then they have to do really serious stuff for a while, and I don't think Glee can sustain, like, super serious plot lines for that long, but... I think it'd be interesting, or otherwise she'll be super paralyzed, and maybe she won't be able to go back to school, and then she'll be able to stay back at the school for another year because she couldn't finish. Like, I don't know. I think it'd be interesting if she died. I'm not really sure. It really depends on how they play it. It wasn't good because, you know, we're going to be gone for 7 weeks. So they got to leave us hanging, and they did. They really, really did a good job with this episode. They went out very strong, very emotional. And people are going to tell their friends about this episode. They're going to say, wow, man, Glee was really good this week. You know, you should watch it. And then people will watch it and be like, wow, Glee's actually good again. So I think this was good for Glee. Although I'm not super happy about the 7-week break. I understand that it's TV and they have to do that. But, you know. But yeah, overall, this episode, it gets like an A- for me. There was some questionable parts. But overall, there was just, you know, a lot of stuff just made up for it. Especially... everything with Kurt, Karofsky, Blaine, all that. Oh, it worked really well. This is probably one of the best Glee episodes it's been in a while. Is it my favorite episode of all time? It's really hard to tell when I'm still kind of emotional about it a little bit. But, you know, so I will see you all in 7 weeks. I might do a video in between then talking about Glee. Maybe you guys can ask questions or something about what I think about Glee or what any of the people who've been on here think about Glee. And, you know, maybe we'll talk about news that we hear about Glee, something like that. I'll try to update something in these 7 weeks. So leave questions or ask me to talk about something, you know, anything really. Or if you want to talk more about this episode, there's a lot to talk about in this episode, and I would really love to see all your comments about how you thought everything was handled. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. We can have an intelligent, rational discussion about it, and I would really like to have that, because as most people know, I do respond to pretty much every comment that's left on the YouTube page for the most part. So I really look forward to talking to people about this and what you all thought. And once again, if you don't agree with me, that's totally cool. I really want to talk. Different opinions. It's just one person's opinion. So until 7 weeks, see you later.